Hello. It's been a while. Something like that. But I'm here, and you've seen the title. You've seen what this is about. You can see the screen and everything, and the title, and I already said the title and the thumbnail and everything that has to do with YouTube. You know what we were talking about, man? Poppy Playtime, bro. Recently, Chapter 5, supposedly, from what other people said, the final chapter, although it was confirmed not to. There will be spoilers, by the way. Kinda. Not that much. No, not for this video. It's a big chapter. Big chapter. And that we've been waiting for a while. Finally a chapter that focuses on the one and only prototype. Which he for yeah, this is kind of where the spoilers are mainly gonna come from like the characters and all that. He does not look like the fan-made version. Yeah, he's like a fucking corpse or whatever. I already swore. Okay, it's interesting. He does not look like a corpse or a skeleton. He all I'm gonna say is amazing digital circus. But this chapter, although it focuses on the prototype as a whole, there are some standouts there. Ooh! Peak. Like, this character right here, peak. Absolute cinema. And of course, the return of Huggy Wuggy. The GOAT himself. Now, if you just quickly want me to give you like a quick rating so you can just like watch it and then leave, I'd give it like a yeah, voice crack. Yeah, it is what it is. Like a 6.5. It was fine. Nothing too crazy. And I'm not gonna spoil where it's at on the list, but it's not. I just booped it with my nose. Yeah, I guess I kind of spoiled that one. Yeah. Chapter 5 was my least favorite of the chapters. And, for any new, viewers and all that, I do not have a script. I don't. This is all improvised. Which means, mistakes like these happen all the time. It's just a part of the process. So yeah. As you can tell, I'm gonna be ranking the chapters from worst to best. And we already started. So chapter 5. I'm gonna keep it brief because I remember my Stranger Things video went way too long because I just kept yapping. So I'm gonna keep it short for this one. Each one of these. Overall, chapter 5 was fine. I like I like realizing more the character of the prototype, giving us more on his background, how he acts, and all that. I like his design, for the most part, but, you know. So, I loved, actually, the Huggy Wuggy, flashbacks. I thought that shit was pretty peak. Those were, like, some of my highlights of the chapter as a whole. The new character, it was, at least the main one, Lily Lovebraids, I'm pretty sure was her name, is peak. I love her. She's so cool and crazy, and I love her. So like in terms of like villains antagonists, chapter 5 has one of the stronger ones. Well, some of the strongest ones. So I'll give it props for that. And it does introduce other characters. Mainly two, and they're both goofballs, but I love them. Which I'll say this. Chapter 5 has some good fucking characters in it. New and old. I appreciate all of them. They managed to how would I say this? Go more in depth about each one, and even us, the player. Like finally. Like Jesus. Like 5 chapters in and we barely know anything about this guy, but this chapter gives us a couple of answers, which I appreciate. I will say it does probably have my favorite of the endings, or my second favorite, just because of no spoilers, of course, of who returns at the very end. But it doesn't really save itself, in my opinion. In most of the game, which if you play Poppy Playtime, it's nothing really out of the ordinary. It's to be expected. I feel like Chapter 5 is mainly all puzzles. And the puzzles are really boring. Really, really boring this time. Which is very sad, because it is giving me like Chapter 3 vibes in those puzzles, which sucks, but at the end of the day, Chapter 3 makes it work in a very interesting way and makes up for it. Chapter 5, in my opinion, doesn't really offer that much in terms of like, you know, outside like the gameplay and all that, other than like the story and all that. But I feel like I'm yapping. All right, moving on. I honestly don't even know if these are hot takes, but as I was thinking about this one in specific, Chapter 4, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna piss some people off with these ones. But Chapter 4 has one of my favorite characters, Doey. I love Doey, man. He's peak. He's probably one of the better written characters of the whole game as a whole. Yeah. Anyways, and you know, mostly everything surrounding like Doey and like the little refuge area with the orphans and all that. I feel like I love all of that mainly. Everything outside of that is pretty mid, in my opinion. In my opinion, of course. My opinion. My humble opinion. And I will say it does have my absolute favorite ending of the chapters. That hype moment with Huggy at the end. But other than that, now that I look back on it, other than Doey, who carried the very hell out of that chapter, it doesn't do a lot for me. So yeah. Chapter. Listen, the images are very compressed. Okay, it happens. I'm not perfect. It's it happens, but yeah, this one might piss people off. I have no idea, but chapter 1. Here's the thing. Chapter 1 onwards, in terms of like the placement in this, ranking, Depending on the day, I can switch them up. Chapter 1 could be number 2, could be number 1. It really just depends on the day and how I feel. But chapter 1 brings in the nostalgia. Brings in, I feel like, the best atmosphere any of the chapters have given us. Being completely frank with you. Gives us some good, someone's gonna swear, goddammit. Scares, like jump scares. Gave us the amazing chase scene. You know, the ending. Poppy, Huggy tumbling down the stairs like a goober. And my grandma. Rest in peace, grandma. And for that I appreciate it. And there's also like a certain type of nostalgia that comes with the first chapter of Poppy Playtime that blew up when it came out. And although I'm not particularly extremely fond of Poppy Playtime as a whole, I can at least admit that chapter 1 was something special. Yeah, it has all the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, but at the end of the day, Poppy Playtime found a way to, I would say, kind of revive the mascot horror, like, side of, like, video games. Because mascot horror, up to that point, was mainly being carried by FNAF. And, like, basically no one else. Then Poppy Playtime came in. And it finally just gave us a new breath of fresh air. I love it. I am yapping, aren't I? It's either I talk too much or I yap too much. Which are technically the same thing. But yeah, chapter 1, in terms of story, doesn't offer that much. Appealing by the nostalgia of it. And just what it brought, like, into the game space at that time. I can appreciate it well enough to put it at least in number 3. Oh my god, that was a cat. Okay, I'm gonna keep this one very brief. Is that cat okay? Okay, I'm just gonna proceed. I'm gonna keep this very brief. But chapter 2. Shit. I've debated putting chapter 2 in number 1 or not. But as most of you already know, someone won it over for me, okay? Someone in specific won it over. But it's as simple as this. Chapter 2 basically does everything better. Expands on the lore. Gives us a much more fleshed out antagonist. The scares are yeah, they're crazy. They're crazy. The puzzles are better. More characters. I already mentioned lore, but the story beats are nice. It actually feels more like a cohesive story more than just a walking simulator. Just us walking and doing like a couple of things like chapter 1 was, where you didn't really do that much. In chapter 2, it actually feels like you're playing chapters. Like it's actually a story that's progressing. And I love it. I love it. And of course, like Bunzo Bunny and PJ, what is it, Caterpillar? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Bringing in like iconic characters to the franchise, and of course, Mommy Longlegs herself, peak villain, probably don't think it's my favorite because I forgot to mention for chapter 4. My favorite villain is the Doctor. But in number 2, as you're gonna see in the next ranking, number 1, and then in number 3 is Mommy Longlegs, because I think Mommy Longlegs does everything she needs to do and does it flawlessly. And yeah, for the most part, yeah, chapter 2 is peak. I don't even know how I can. I might get shot for this. But if I'm being honest, this is my video, this is my ranking, and chapter 3 is my GOAT, my undeniable GOAT. It brought me my child. The love of my life. Not romantically, but as a son. Catnap. My absolute GOAT. It brought me the Smiling Critters, which I absolutely adore. It somehow made it scarier. Actually, like, fully invested me in the lore. Because from chapter 1 to chapter 2, I was like, I was kind of casual into Poppy Playtime. I still kind of am. But it was chapter 3 in specific that with the lore, with Catnap himself, and it just, was every I'll say it, every fucking piece that chapter 3 has offered, has put into like the fucking jigsaw puzzle of this whole overarching narrative. I love it. I loved it. I still like, sometimes I just watch like clips of chapter 3 just to give myself flashbacks of back in the day when I first played chapter 3 when it came out. I was so excited, and for the most part, my wishes were satisfied. But my main complaint, and for right now I am pretty sure it's the only one, but there's probably more, are the puzzles. I believe chapter 3 is one of the bigger offenders when it comes to an overuse of puzzles and making them either too complicated for no reason or so simple it feels pretty much useless to include a puzzle. And that is a very, very fatal flaw that I feel like it's haunted Poppy Playtime mainly ever since chapter 3. And it mainly comes from not only like the middle area of chapter 3, like, you know, like second act and all that, to like the very end, like the quote unquote boss battle. But other than the puzzles, I genuinely just can't think of anything else I didn't like chapter 3. Chapter 3 was awesome. I love Catnap. I love the introduction of, like, you know, the gas, or at least an expansion of the gas. And, you know, just Dog Day. But it just just overall, chapter 3 did everything, in my opinion, chapter 2 expanded upon and made better, and made it even better. And for that, even with its flaws, I love chapter 3 so much. Now, Poppy Playtime as a whole. Poppy Playtime as a whole is a franchise I was pretty skeptical of at the start. I didn't really like it. I thought Huggy looked pretty stupid. I didn't like his design. I didn't like the look of, the world of Poppy Playtime, the gameplay, how it felt like a ripoff of FNAF and all that. And I wasn't a fan, if I'm being honest. But then Chapter 2 came out. And then it started buying me in. And Chapter 3 completely, it took over me. It finally made me see why people loved this game so much. And its characters, and the story, and the gameplay, and everything. And sure, I wouldn't put it like on, I wouldn't put it in my top 5 like indie games of all time, like best indie games of all time, or video games of all time, or horror video games of all time. But I appreciate Poppy Playtime for what it tried to do, what it accomplished, what it didn't accomplish, the characters that it brought in, the feeling, the stories, and it's nice being wrong about something you don't think is good enough, or something you don't really like at the start, and then you end up liking it the more it goes on. And Poppy Playtime, in my opinion, is one of the better examples of that, at least when it comes to me personally. And Poppy Playtime was a nice surprise. And yeah, Poppy Playtime as a whole, if I had to rate it from 1 out of 10, I would say is an 8 out of 10. I think if you can move past the puzzles and have patience with the game, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good game. There's a lot of passion into this. It goes beyond the game with the YouTube videos and all that, and the ARG and all that. And yeah, Poppy Playtime is a very, very special game, and I genuinely can't wait for Chapter 6. And maybe a Chapter 7? That was not a 6-7 joke. Wait, don't leave. Wait.